Call the July 10th Town Board meeting. Pledge allegiance. Order. Take a motion to approve the minutes from June meeting.
I'll make motion to approve the minutes from the June meeting.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Treasurer's report.
All right, Pam will pull it up on the screen, and then if you're following along in your packet, it's the third page with the financial statement. So starting at the top, we had a beginning balance in our checking of $103,602 at the start of June. And after our expenses and our revenue additions, we ended the month with $84,170 in our checking. And then add to that our UBS asset accounts, which is $471,553, which gives the township total assets of $555,723. And then if we scroll down to the middle of the page, you can see our expenses for June of 2024 were almost $8,000 higher than June of 2023. And this was due to the SEH bill for the Pioneer 99th Street road projects that we've been working on them with. So a little different this year. And then below that is our revenue. You can see that it's actually almost $60,000 lower than prior year. And this is mainly due to the timing of our property taxes. Everyone's property taxes are due by the end of May each year, and then it just depends when the county actually deposits the funds in our account. So we'll see that in July of this year instead of June. And then just another small variance was due to the timing of our cell tower lease out on Pioneer Road. And then if we scroll down to the bottom, I'll just take you to the very far bottom, kind of on the left there, our year-to-date surplus or deficit. Right now we're at a deficit of $13,584. Compared to this time last year, if we kind of just look to the right, we had a surplus of $43,330. And again, this difference is due to the timing of our property taxes. So once we get that about $55,000 in for property taxes, we'll be on par with last year. Any questions for me?
No, the only other bill we'll have that wasn't in there is Rumpke for Pioneer Road. So just so people know, what's that usually be, about 8,000, something like that, I think?
I think it was less last year. I'd have to look back,
something like
but
that.
yeah. To do gravel and grading, you're talking? Yeah.
We gotta make a motion to approve treasurer's report.
I'll second that. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, pay the bills.
I'll make a motion to pay bills 104 through 122 for $8,833.49.
Second that. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any questions?
Nope.
All right, Zach, with SEH, you want to come up, give us a little spiel on the roads?
I guess it's kind of whatever preference you guys would like. If you want to look at this one or the most recent one I sent, it has a little bit different breakdown summary in reference to.
Same bottom line.
Yeah. So this was a little late edition I sent Pam, and she got on it. So I think you guys have a copy of it, maybe. If not, it's obviously on the screen. But in general here, we've been working on our design and specifications for the Pioneer Road and 99th Street reconstruction projects here over the last couple months. Your last meeting, we got the bidding approved to go to bid. We just opened bids on Monday for this project. We did receive 3 bids, which were on that other sheet she had up. They were all actually fairly close in range, which is good. A lot of times we do get some of those oddball companies that'll throw a high price out there just in case they get it, I guess. But we actually got 3 companies, all of which we've worked with before, but they all came in with relatively close bids. But this project, we did have a little bit of a unique scenario compared to some that we have. So we had 2 different, what we called schedules, Schedule 1 and 2, basically Schedule 1 for Pioneer Road, Schedule 2 for 99th Street. And then we had 2 alternates, one for each section, which was to extend the completion date to June 30th of 2025. So basically give a contractor that leeway into next year, in hopes that we would get a lower price, which oftentimes we may if they want to book that early season up so they got a project to kick off with. But when we received the bids for the alternates, one was a zero alternate, so they just had the same price to complete it next year, and the other two were both a increase in cost to have it pushed out for next year. So if we look at the memo that I had up there, if you wanted to push it out to next year, the cheapest, the low bidder, I should say, would be Minnesota Paving and Materials at the $268,833.16. They're the ones that had no increase to complete it next year. However, your lowest bids are going to be if you did complete it this year anyway, and if you did them both, which would be the top line in that little table there to do both roads, the combined amount in low bidder was Park Construction at the $264,493.05. If you did want to just do Pioneer Road, which was the initial street that we had looked at doing the project for, that would actually be a small difference of about $4,000, but it actually would be the low bidder for just that street alone would be that Minnesota Paving and Materials at the $175,000 and change. So they're about $4,000 cheaper than Park on just that road. I just put those three up there because those are what I thought would maybe be the three most common common options that you may look at, but there are a few other options you could look at. Doing 99th only, could always do nothing and reject all bids, or maybe a couple other combinations, but those are your most likely ones. Unless you want to look at anything else, we certainly can, and she has the bid sheet up, so we could look at other combinations if you want. The only other thing that I would mainly wanted to point out was just if you were looking back at our past estimates, the bid results came in quite a bit under what we were estimating, which is a very good thing. Typically like to be a lot closer on our estimate, but in this case, I had the biggest items were the pulverizing and the shouldering we got a lot better price on here, as well as the asphalt too, which we've seen quite a bit higher costs in recent years. So all that's to say it was good. I try not to be too low because it's usually not great when the bids are way higher. Try not to be as high as I was, but I'd rather be high and have the bids come back low than the opposite way. So I think we got really good prices in general, and as we saw in the 2 out of the 3 alternates had the higher cost to do it next year. Most likely, if you were to rebid, say 99th or both streets next year, you probably would see a price increase just due to normal inflation and such, but never know. But you did get very good bidding results this year, and I would say it would be a very reasonable decision to do both streets or just one if you wanted to do just Pioneer too. Any questions? I can try to answer anything else on the bidding, but nothing too crazy.
Yeah, I mean, these are full, just so you guys, full plan and spec jobs, so they're all bidding the same project, same thing. Just confirmation on that, the third party, the oversight, is that like Braun or somebody that we picked to like kind of just, is that covered or is that a cost that will come up?
Are you
Just to
talking?
oversee the construction project to make sure.
Yeah, that's the second part that I sent Pam.
Yeah.
Typically, or that is totally separate. This is,
Yep.
say if you didn't have someone to oversee it, they would come in, do the work and bill you, and either someone from your board could, or you would typically hire a separate company. And that is, after you make your decision here, we did provide you with a
Yep.
proposal on that, and I'll explain, or I'll talk on that as well, because it's different than how we do our design contracts.
Okay.
So,
Dick, do you have something?
Yeah, let's talk about that. yeah, I'm in favor of doing Pioneer Road and 99th. But then you guys is, construction oversight, because we pretty much figured we'd use you guys to do that. And they said depending who the bidder was, that could be more or less, and one of the last ones we had, that cost was $44,964. You wanna talk about
Yep.
that going forward here?
Yep. What did I call it? I probably named it construction services.
Memo, bid sheet, construction services letter.
Bottom one, construction services letter. Yeah, so, good segue. What John had presented last month and this letter here that we provided, or that I just provided Pam today, we have that same number is essentially what our fee would be. If there's a lot of the project background and stuff which we can go over, and I will go over what we would propose in that, but to your point of what the dollar amount is, I think it's like halfway down the second page or so, if you want to scroll down there.
Yeah, we didn't see
Yeah.
them, we just got your memo from June 12th that had it on there.
Okay, so we use the same number here, and what that includes, because I don't know what all John may have talked about last month when he was here and talked
Okay.
about this, but the quick rundown of what that all includes in this memo that Pam does have now has kind of outlines what we would all do in there, but essentially it's everything else that you would need during the construction process as representatives of the town. So the contract administration to make sure all the contract documents and plans and specs are followed. The RPR, that's what we call our field staff, the resident project representative. It's like the on-the-field observer, making sure that the construction side of thing is getting done correctly, and then the contract administration making sure everything is billed and paid for according to the contracts. Also, when they submit like pay applications, they would come to us, we would review them and make sure the quantities and what they're submitting match what we have, so they don't charge for something they didn't do or overcharge or something like that. So we work with the contractor to get an agreement with the quantities. Then we send that to you guys for your approval as they come in each month. Other things like setting up pre-construction meetings, attending weekly meetings, which there won't be too many of them in this type of project most likely, but we would host those and attend those. And if needed, or kind of what level is needed, which does depend on the contractor, but the last one there, the staking, so like hammering in blue tops, you might have heard of that before, or
Yeah,
doing any surveying that is needed. All that's kind of included in this package of construction services. But the amount and there's a big difference between how we do our construction services and our design fee stuff. Our design projects and contract that we have with you guys, we do those lump sum, the one that we already had. These we do, and at the very bottom it mentions it, but we do these on an hourly rate because they are hard to because we're relying on a contractor that we don't know, even if we've worked with them before. Every project's different, every crew is different. We don't have an exact number, so we would have a contract for the $44,965, for example, but we would bill it on an hourly rate, and whatever we don't use does not get billed. So that way we can
Is that a not to exceed, or is that a?
It's basically a not to exceed. There, the very bottom basically states if there's very odd things that were to come up that kind of would change what the scope of the project is, we could come back and potentially discuss further compensation, but that's a fairly odd thing. This type of number generally includes what we would hope to see as normal fluctuations and things that come up during construction, but as it says in the bottom, I think one of the bottom bottom paragraphs there, if the contractor comes and does work and then leaves for months, or does if strange things happen, that's the only time that would get exceeded really, which is pretty atypical. So that's why we do these on the hourly rate. That way we can not bill for what we don't use, but we don't need to try and guess and then come back and ask for more. We can hopefully save you money if
Was
it
there a
goes well.
was there a completion date on this then for this year for them? What'd they put?
Yep.
No, they,
Yeah, for the base bid, the completion date, yeah, I don't have it on that letter. I think I have it in our other memo, or in the top of this page, actually. You want to go to yeah, right there. So the base bid, assuming you don't do the alternates to push it into
Yeah.
2025, it's substantial completion, which is more or less when it's done, aside
Okay.
from like some restoration items or so. That's
Yeah.
October 31st of this year.
Okay.
And then final completion, billing and
Yeah.
everything all done by end of November.
And then just so people understand that park construction bid, the 264,493, that probably won't be exact because you get charged by the ton on stuff. You know, you basically bid these things by the ton of blacktop, class 5, what have you, right? So it could be a little more, a little bit less, just so people don't come back and say, hey, you guys got a price for 265,000, it was 270 or 250, right?
Right, yeah. So the construction contract, kind of similar to how ours are, that for our construction services, ours are hourly. We bill for what we use. Same thing for construction. They're going to bill you for what they use. So if we were slightly over or slightly under a quantity, they may come in slightly under budget or slightly over budget if you're correct. If they use more asphalt than we estimate, then it could be slightly higher. So yes, that's
typical, that's the way things are done.
right.
In
That's
case
called a
anybody's wondering.
unit price contract. So we have those unit prices for each item, and they bill for each individual item. Versus, like some contracts
Yeah.
could be lump sum as well, where you just pay them and they do the project,
Mm-hmm.
and no matter what it takes, that's what you pay them, and that's what they get.
That 264, that still has that 10% overage or whatever, contingency or whatever in it, like we had in our,
So now this number is not with contingency. We try to
with the budget we
put
had
a
in.
little bit like asphalt and aggregate where they're kind of hard to estimate. We try to estimate, 5 or 10% higher rather than lower so that we don't go over budget, but there is no like contingency item in this. Now we have the unit prices, that is what the unit prices are, and now it's all up to essentially what the quantities are that get done in the end.
I think the contingency was in that first
Right.
engineer's estimate of 450,000.
Yeah.
Well, that's why this looks a lot, really light, but it's really, you got a couple
Yeah.
things on there. that
Right.
Bring it in a little tighter.
Yeah, you got good bid prices and that contingency's out of there. Yep.
So your guys is 44, you'll be out on site to check soil to make sure that's compacted to the right standards, you check the road surfaces, all that.
Yeah,
That's
so
part
we
of
don't do like actual, like say nuclear density testing or standard Proctor tests, like the things where you'd actually send materials to labs. But we would in this project, especially during paving and things like testing. So in this one, we would probably do roll tests after it's pulverized before it's paved to make sure there's no mushy spots in the ground, and then we would correct those if they were there. But we would witness that kind of stuff. We would check in as needed during things like the pulverizing or restoration, but typically you don't monitor restoration like as much as you would the paving and the roll testing and things like that.
Yeah, I seen one of the other roads that county did up here, and I seen a guy had a thing out there, and I said, what are you doing? He says, oh, doing a density check. That was the contractor. So would that be done?
That's usually up to them. I'd have to double check our specs to see if we required any of that. A lot of
Okay.
times it's kind of up to them, and it's up to your discretion. Some communities like to actually hire and have those tests done. Some don't. You certainly could, and we could help coordinate that. They're not, too expensive. But
You can let us know later if it might be in there, it might not be, if it's necessary, if you think it's necessary. The engineer might have not have thought it was necessary on this project due to
Yeah,
the traffic and stuff.
I believe, I'd have to double check, but I believe it was optional, essentially at your guys' discretion and at the town's cost. That's how most of them are done.
Are they? Okay.
A lot of times the community pays for it, and if it doesn't pass, then the contractor fixes it at their cost and retests at their cost.
The other one was a county road, so I'm sure they did the county road and they did that first and the county overseen it, so they probably just plopped it into both. Mm-hmm. So, well, I don't have any other questions.
Paul, you got anything?
Yeah. So the township would hire Braun Engineering to do that kind of work?
If we're talking the testing, I think Braun operates in Minnesota.
Yeah.
For those type of things, we could coordinate with Braun or any other
Yeah,
testing
yeah.
agency to come out and do, whether it's testing on the gravel road before it's paved, or you could do the nuclear
it's-
density testing
before it's
after it's. Right, you could do both ways, but
Yeah.
you could hire a testing company to do the actual lab testing, yep.
But Brown isn't hired. We have no testing people hired.
So they'll-
Basically, we're just hiring them as an engineering firm to oversee the tear out and the installation and all that. Then it'd be up to them if they want to get a testing agency to do anything, they'd ask us, and we'd probably have to prove that it'd be an additional cost.
Well,
Correct.
I know that, but
No.
it would be a cost to us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right.
So in a project like this, in your experience with other areas like this, is that something other cities or anything are doing, or is it you guys are
It's
seeing the process through anyway?
It's totally city dependent. We had a city this year that tested everything that could be tested, the sub base, the base, concrete, because they had curb and gutter and stuff, and the asphalt after it's paved, because you can do nuclear density testing to make sure the asphalt was compacted to the level as well. And we have a lot of communities that don't, and you rely on, good contractor work and warranties. So usually, or like every contract, you're going to have that at least 1 year warranty period. So if a contractor puts down absolutely terrible stuff and doesn't compact the base, I mean, you're pretty much always going to see that within the year if it was that bad, because you're going to go through a full freeze thaw cycle and winter cycle with plow trucks and all your normal traffic on that. So you have the warranty, to cover drastic errors. And for you guys, it's just pavement. We don't have concrete on this project.
I think it'd be worth probably, you guys can decide, probably worth our money. It might fall into their 44,000 to cover it, to do a compaction test and a density test when they're done.
I was just gonna ask, like, as part of our thing, I mean, can you get us just a quote thing like you did with the boring? I mean, is that something would you just
Yeah.
provide, just so we would have a
Yeah, I think we can
AIT,
get.
the Braun, a handful of three little estimates to do something like that?
Yeah, I think we could do that. Usually a lot of times they'll give like a per test fee schedule essentially. And then it's up to, like when you do the test, you typically wouldn't do one compaction test. You would typically do one, say every 300 or 500 linear feet of
Yep.
of roadway, which there's a few thousand feet of that. So it depends on what level, because they're going to charge per test.
Okay.
So there's variables like that. It depends on what level you'd want, but typically they would give a fee schedule, or you would
I
give
think
them a
if you
full
just
scope.
Had whatever the number of tests they do for the gravel, and then just one, I don't even know if you need to do that. You guys check the blacktop, or it has a sheet printed out that it, just like concrete, they show that it's to spec?
We'll have the plant batch, so it'll
Yeah.
make sure it's got the 5834
Yeah.
or the MnDOT spec
Okay.
mix.
Yep.
But the testing they would do is the actual density of what the asphalt is rolled to.
Okay,
It's like, goes down and they compact it to
Yep.
84 or whatever the percentage is of the compaction. That's a nuclear density test that they would perform on the asphalt.
Yeah, I think that's the only thing addition we probably want is density check on the base and density check on the blacktop when they're done.
Yeah.
Does that sound good?
Yeah, I think I can double check with John too, that we could coordinate at least getting like the prices to
Yeah.
you and go from there. Like I said, this is, since it's an hourly rate, we kind of have a little bit of fluff until we hit the cap,
Yeah.
and then we could discuss it. But the actual testing would be, you would contract it directly with whatever.
Well, we just have you guys contract with, because you know who to call and when to call them and all that stuff.
Well, right, we would
Yeah.
handle that, but they would say, bill you.
Right,
directly.
that's what happened before in the borings, when you did borings. we
Right,
ended
he
up paying
basically
them.
said
Yeah.
that.
Okay. The only other thing I'd ask is when you're done, give us a weight rating on it. Because, example, we want to put up a sign for a weight rating on the road, the first thing they say is, where's your engineer that gave you that weight rating? So when you're all done, give us, if it's 3 ton, 5 ton, 9 ton, 500 pounds, whatever it is, give us that when we're done.
Oh, I can check in with
Okay.
our
It's
guys.
gotta say no race cars. They can't
Yeah.
hold
Yeah.
race cars.
That's a police issue.
Okay. Unless you guys got any more
Open up for
questions?
questions?
What's that?
Open up for questions? I think you'd have to come up to the mic if you wanna speak. I know you're loud, Eduardo, but.
Yeah, I can be loud. Good afternoon, thank you for the
It's in-
question. So my question relates to actually the compensation rate, and I know you don't benefit from being here last time that was explained, but that was clearly pegged to the 10% of the estimate. It was 44K because it was an estimate of 450. Now the estimate is 280, but the 44K has not moved. So if the estimate would have been better, we would actually be receiving a more reasonable quote. And I'm wondering if there's any wiggle room to actually peg it to the 280 instead of the 440, which was our original thing. Because right now we're jumping from like a 10% cost to almost a 20. I know the math is not right, but to what extent? 17, there you go, you did the math. Close to 20, closer to 20 than to 10, and to what extent is that in our benefit? Or are there other concessions that you think can be part of it? And I know you probably are not prepared to answer that question, but it just seems kind of odd that one estimate moves to our advantage, the other one doesn't.
And the only, one thing I just point out is that, not that it makes up the full difference, but the estimate we got had those 10% contingencies on, which this bid doesn't. So there is a little more, but yeah, it is still a lot different.
Yeah, I can kind of talk to what you're saying there. So you're right, we didn't adjust that down, but basically because we don't have the contractor's schedule, which you would get after you complete contract, and they'll submit their bar chart and schedule when they're estimating they'll start, how long things will take, how many hours they'll work each week, all that good stuff. When we have that, we could get a more accurate estimate, but otherwise we base these off of what we estimate projects on because it gives us our ballpark, but basically the difference is, this is why we do hourly rates on these, because if we overshoot it, we don't bill, like we don't just do $20,000 worth of work and just bill you and get $24,000 of profit. Whatever we work, that's all we bill. So if it ends up being $28,000 worth of work and it's 10%, that's all we get. That's all we end up billing, and the rest of it just doesn't get billed. So that's why we don't worry as much about dropping those down to at this stage, because we don't have the data to do it based on, because we still don't have their construction schedule, and it's hourly, so we can make up that overshot. If we are way over, we just don't bill for it. If that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I don't think it's engaging in dialogue. It's just to what extent is that okay with board? That the
I guess-
estimate was pegged to a number that didn't come through, and to what extent? I mean, if you're hinting that there's going to be a margin, then drop that up to 38, right? If you think that that's going to be. But to have almost close to a 20% base on overseeing a project that is not including any testing and so on seems to me as high. That's all I'm saying.
I guess I just would say that until we have that other data, that's just usually how we estimate these, and then that's why we do the hourly rate, so that's why we don't do these lump sum.
And basically, you might as well say that you guys, this cost is time and material.
Yeah,
It's pretty much it.
yeah, I can't remember the exact wording we use, expense and hourly and expense is what we do it on.
At what point would we, I mean, if we approve the road things, at what point would we, is that something that needs to be approved tonight, the oversight of it, or?
It doesn't need to, and this wouldn't be, so what we have up here, this is similar, or basically the same process that we did for the original contract and then the amendment to include the 99th Street. With this, we're just presenting what we would do, and this isn't the actual contract. We would send the contract via the DocuSign, and it'd be a, you know, different wording. It'd be an actual agreement language, not a memo style like this. So you don't have to approve it tonight. If you do, we'll work with Pam and do the DocuSign thing in a more formal, official agreement format. But yeah, basically, as of now, we'll take it through, you know, the contracting part if you do award the contract, and then that's kind of where our scope currently ends. And if we get this, we can just keep rolling, just kind of to you guys.
Any other questions? You got anything to say? I'd love to hear from you.
Nothing to say, no, just kidding. No, and kind of looking ahead, we knew, you know, we have a large expenditure this year is what we had kind of thought. And so during the last budget season, talking with the board on kind of what we need to keep as reserves for the township, just to make sure we have enough in the bank just for, you know, savings, rainy day fund, whatever. We feel, or I would say I feel comfortable with these amounts, whether we go with SEH for the engineering or not, but it still leaves the township enough assets to continue to operate just fine. No concerns there from my perspective.
So is there, if we were to approve this, is there a, like you're, this ain't a locked-in price, but before they start the work, they'll give us a different price? Like, is there like, we're not gonna turn this all of a sudden into 300,000 and go, hey, what the heck?
So you don't get, the contract will be written that the agreement is, there'll be wording that basically states it's based on unit prices at an estimated amount of,
Okay.
and it'll list like, say the 264 and change. And so it basically says that it's related to the unit prices. That's where as the engineering construction services, if you use us or whoever, that's where we make sure that our quantities are matching what they have. So
they're not
assuming we
undercutting
don't
bid?
blow a quantity in our estimate, they're not just gonna bill you for twice as much asphalt and say, yep, that's what we put down. It would have to match with what we
And
got in the field.
they already sent back with their kind of square footage. They're not just undercutting the footages to get a job and then.
No, all their bids are based on the
Numbers
same
you gave?
numbers that we submitted into the system, so we told them, you need to bid, I don't
Yep.
remember what, I have the
Yep,
quantities
no,
on the
that's
sheet,
fine.
110 tons of asphalt, so
Yep.
they give it based on that. There's some other language in there that would state, basically if we get done with the project, which happens very rarely, but if you get done and say there was a quantity where we estimated 10 units and there was actually 50, and it appears that they bid a very high number on that unit, like they maybe possibly noticed that, which has happened before, we can push back on that because there's language in it that basically states that if they notice any flaws in the estimated quantities and don't bring it to our attention during bidding and do something like bid a really high unit price at something they notice is gonna run way over, they're basically, they can't do that.
Do you, the other thing, do you know where these construction companies are out of? Like where they're based out of?
I don't remember the
Or if
exact
you've worked with
locations,
either of
but I
them?
know we have worked with all three of
Okay.
these
Okay.
around, so they're all three familiar companies. Usually, when you get good close prices, they're all local companies. Usually, usually the ones that we see that are way higher, are the ones that we haven't heard of. Yes, we have heard of it.
All right.
Used all.
I haven't heard of Park Construction. but
They're,
it's good.
they're pretty big, they're a pretty
Okay.
big outfit,
All right.
they're in the Twin Cities here somewhere.
Yeah, I believe they're all based, or I know they're all based
Yeah.
in Minnesota.
Okay.
Patty probably knows, you're dealing with these
Well, I recognize Minnesota Paving.
people. Okay.
Anything else? Is there any action
Well, if you guys are happy, move to approve the park construction bid of the $264,493.05. And might as well do both at the same time. And the construction engineering of SHC with a estimated cost of $44,964.98.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Work with you on contracting and our supplemental letter agreement.
And that's gonna happen in 2025?
No, this year,
This year.
by October,
The bottom
by
one.
Halloween.
Reason Paul asked that, there's another different price there in the bottom for another company
Yeah,
that
that
would be
one's-
completed in 2025. This one's 2024.
Yep. Should be good to go. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thanks, Zach.
Thank you.
All right, reports. Lonnie, are you gonna speak?
Yeah,
Oh, perfect.
Set this up for tall people. Do you need me out of this now?
Yeah.
You guys probably aren't familiar, but make sure the mic's
good.
on.
Is that how it works?
I'll be right back.
Well, the battery's
You can talk, I hear you guys all the time.
You know all about us.
Yeah.
Well, good evening. I'm Ann Schweisguth. I'm the Interim Executive Director at the South Washington County Telecommunications Commission.
And I'm Lonnie Garland. I'm the Interim Assistant Executive Director at SWCTC, also the Technical Manager. So if anything goes wrong, it's not my fault.
It's totally his fault. As you guys know, South Washington County Telecommunications Commission is a joint powers agreement between the Great Cloud Island Township and the cities of St. Paul Park, Newport, Woodbury, and Cottage Grove. Your representative on the board is Dick Polta. We always appreciate his input.
Yep.
You always have something to say. It's usually pretty good.
Yes, he does.
So tonight we wanted to give you an update on what we've been doing and what we're kind of working on for next year. And of course, we brought a video because that's what we do. So we're gonna play this video. It's a little choppy on the screen, but you will get the point. Hello, and thank you for taking a few moments to hear about the work we've been doing here at the South Washington County Telecommunications Commission. South Washington County Telecommunications Commission. For over 40 years, that's been our name, but soon we'll be changing that. Last year, our commission embarked on a journey to find a consultant to help us rebrand. We hired Mango Day, a design agency out of Minneapolis. You may have seen them at the Woodbury Community Expo and the Cottage Grove Showcase in April. They were conducting a community survey to help us better understand our brand and how we can better serve the community. The full launch of our new name, logo, and brand will occur in 2025. We've seen some other changes here at SWCTC in 2023 as well. Mark Martinez, our executive director for the last 7 years, took a new position and left the organization in December. Our IT specialist, Damon Price, also took another position at the end of the year. Lonnie Garland and I were appointed to interim executive roles, and government producer Brian Schmidt moved to a newly created position as IT administrator. This left the need to hire a new government producer. Out of 56 applications, we selected Dan Heiding.
Hi, I'm Dan.
Dan brings 13 years of experience as a multimedia artist.
I'm a director and cinematographer who also enjoys creating motion graphics and visual effects. In my career, I've had the privilege of creating music videos for Grammy-winning artists, shooting Emmy-winning episodes for PBS, and directing commercials for broadcast TV. I also love to do 3D animation in my free time. I'm excited to leverage my skill set to tell the stories of the communities we serve and to contribute in my own way to the future of media production.
Looking at our financials, SWCTC operates on cable franchise and PEG fees. Over the past few years, we've seen a slow decline in funding due to cord cutting and broadband competition. Total franchise revenue for 2023 was almost $1.6 million. This was down 5.8% from 2022. We are actively working to offset the loss by diversifying our funding sources. Currently, we rent our studio space, record and stream District 833 school board meetings and graduations, and do some video services for outside clients. Last year, we brought in over $41,000 in additional revenue. During the 2024 legislative session, a new initiative was introduced called the Equal Access to Broadband Act. This new legislation would modernize the franchising model to allow cities to create franchise agreements with broadband providers. We know local franchising works to ensure equitable build-out, proper reimbursement for use of the public rights-of-ways, and provides funding for local community media facilities like SWCTC. While the Equal Access to Broadband Act received a lot of support in this legislative session, it did not gain enough momentum to pass. We will continue to work with MACTA, other community media centers, and local legislators on future legislation. We did see a financial bright spot in January 2024 when the Commission renewed a 10-year franchise agreement with Comcast. The franchise, which SWCTC negotiates on behalf of our member cities, will provide an increase in our PEG fee from $1 per subscriber to 2%. This increase should help fill the leaking pot, per se, for a while. The renewed franchise also provides an upgrade in HD cable boxes at city facilities and the addition of 2 HD cable channels. Now SWCTC will have 3 HD channels and 1 SD channel. Now let's send it over to our lead producer, Bob McSherry, for an update about our video productions.
Thanks, Ann. In 2023, we cablecasted and streamed 145 city meetings and created 220 videos. Here's a short look at some of the stories we told last year.
Hi, welcome. I heard you were looking for me. And
Hi.
you are?
I'm Harold Angel Singh. I'm in town to write
Hark the Herald Angels sing. I just love this time of year.
Yep, that's my name. I'm from Big Giant City Magazine. I'm here to write the story about the holiday train event this year.
Hey, wake up. It looks like it's gonna rain today.
It is! Yes! That's fantastic, because we haven't received our 1 inch of water for this week.
I know. So you know what that means.
What?
It's watering day, oh, it's watering day.
Hey!
I'm so excited, it's watering day.
There is no typical day for law enforcement, and that's one of the benefits of this job. It's up to you to make it what you want it to be.
At the St. Paul Park Police Department, we have a lot of freedom to work our positions how we want to work them.
Well, a year ago when I came down, kind of exploring this area, and came upon this and the kayak paddle port, and seeing people take kayaks out, enjoy the river, put them back, it's kind of amazing. It's kind of like a vending machine for kayaking. Well, it is a vending machine for kayaking.
Our team of talented producers received 6 national awards last year, including an Upper Midwest Regional Emmy for a stop-motion Lego video educating residents about the Woodbury City budget.
Every year, public meetings are held to talk about the following year's city budget. Anyone can attend and make suggestions. Then in December, the budget for the next year is finalized and approved.
In addition to providing video production services to our member cities, SWCTC also provides AV planning, installation, and maintenance. To talk more about this is our Interim Assistant Executive Director, Lonnie Garland.
In 2023, we spent over 300 hours repairing, replacing, and maintaining AV equipment in the member cities. We also completed the following projects: updated the Bailey Conference Room at Woodbury Public Works, monitors in the Woodbury Public Safety EOC, and completed AV design work for the Central Park remodel. We also completed a new installation in the Glacier Valley Park building in Cottage Grove and finished the AV install in Newport City Council chambers. Our technical team always wants to provide excellent, dependable service. Here's our IT Administrator, Brian Schmidt, to talk more about some of the newer initiatives we have been working on.
After over a decade, we launched a new website in Q1 of 2023. The new site offers a more current style, improved integration of our videos, and better viewing from mobile devices. We have also started utilizing AI components for things like script writing assistance, the ability to quickly enhance audio, and to create closed captioning. Another big item we have been working on has been applying for a low-power FM license from the FCC. This would allow SWCTC to operate a low-power radio station, allowing us to bring local information to residents in a whole new way. We did receive approval and will have up to 3 years to get the radio station up and running. More information to come on that. Now to talk about our social media statistics, here is government producer Elena Myers.
In 2023, we saw growth on all of our social media channels. The SWCTC Facebook page increased by 141 followers, Instagram had an increase of 54 followers, and our YouTube channels saw an increase of 554 subscribers. SWCTC curates the YouTube channels for our member cities, and last year our video content was viewed over 303,000 times. Last summer, we also hired a social media intern for the first time to harvest the youth perspective, something we will be doing again in 2024. Now, here's government producer Nikki Johnson to talk about how we engaged the community last year.
Connecting with the community and our member cities is part of our strategic plan. In 2023, we had a popular snow creation contest on Facebook, celebrated Random Acts of Kindness Day by handing out donuts at the Park Grove Library and cookies at Central Park, tabled at the Cottage Grove Community Showcase in One Woodbury, encouraged people to spot our van around town, and did a drone demo at Strawberry Fest. Our team also had Promote Your Nonprofit Days, where we invited local nonprofits into our studio to record a promotional video. Perhaps our largest community engagement event in 2023 was our 40th anniversary block party. Our staff partnered with local area businesses and invited the public to tour our studio, talk with our staff, enjoy live music on the Junction 70 patio, and enjoy inflatables and food trucks. Even on what turned out to be a very hot day, we had a good turnout.
Thank you to everyone who joined us this summer at our 40th anniversary block party. Like I said at the beginning of this video, SWCTC will soon have a new name and logo. In 2024, we'll be working through that process to find our new identity, and we'll be excited to reveal that. We are also currently in the design phase after signing a letter of intent to move our facility to the soon-to-be remodeled Central Park in Woodbury. This move is anticipated in 2025-26. Staff is excited to be within a community facility and look forward to building a space all of our member cities can benefit from. A sincere thank you to our member cities, city staff, and community members for your continued support. We look forward to telling new stories and providing services in 2024 and beyond. It's always weird to be on video and then in person.
Yeah.
So that's kind of an update on what we've been working on, and we're happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Can't wait to see the rebrand.
Us too.
Yeah, us too, yeah.
We're happy not to say South Washington County Telecommunications Commission again. So, yeah.
Is it going to be longer?
Yeah.
That should be the new goal.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Planning Commission?
Good afternoon again. Hang on a second, I forgot my glasses. And I cannot see it. So we met on Monday. Actually, all three items that we discussed are under your business items, so I'm not going to go into them too much unless you've got questions when they come up for under new business. We had a new accessory building by the LaCroix, and they're right here. We had no questions on that. It seemed like it was conforming with all the setbacks and all the requirements. They had a couple of questions about timing. We clarified that we wanted these projects, once they get approved and permitted, to get done within a reasonable amount of time so we don't have unfinished structures. That seemed not to be a problem at all, so at least we've done our due diligence in letting them know that. And then we had, and drum roll, we had our first couple of IUPs for the season. Remember, we put those on hold because of the CUP process. Last time we met, we wanted to actually work on a questionnaire. I think you probably have that as part of your packet. It is really non-binding. It is just to give you context for the type of non-traditional use of that property, and allow you to ask informed questions about what is the property owner trying to do, what's the background on it, are there any concerns with either the community or the activity or the type of activity that they're anticipating. So hopefully you find that informative. We had conversations about both of them. We recommend both of them for approval. We had two things that you need to kind of think about and discuss. One of them related to the term of these IUPs. Traditionally, we had done a year. That is what the group recommended, but we had input that it may be too short of a timeline, or that it may be just right if it's a brand new IUP. But we've got one of them for the Tipcke's that has been getting renewed. I think this is the 24th year. in a row. So there may be some consideration to make them on a longer term. We were not conclusive on the decision. We didn't recommend one term or the other, but it may be something that you want to discuss. Also, Pam, I think, was going to look into the Township Association just to get a sense of what's the average IUP, what's the average time that these things get approved for. The second discussion item we had related to co-terming these, making sure that they sort of all renew at the same time. Again, not conclusive, just to make sure that we've got one pass of these and they don't just come and go. It may seem as too much of an administrative burden, so we had a discussion, but we did not make a recommendation to co-term them. So both of those things you can discuss, whether or not you want them all to expire at the same time, approve them at the same time, and what kind of term you want for them. And that was it.
You'll yield to a few questions later on then?
Yeah, I'll be around.
All right, perfect.
Sounds good.
Thank you. Next planning commission meeting is Monday, August 14th at 6:30 p.m. The next town board meeting is Wednesday, August 12th. That doesn't sound right.
Yeah, then dates are backwards.
I got it backwards again.
Monday, August 12th.
Please
Is that
fire
is a
me.
Monday, Dick? You looked that up?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's Monday, August 12th and Wednesday, August 14th.
There you go. We like to do our
You get
Mondays.
cheap help.
Wednesdays follow the Mondays. Any other? Nothing really on that. Moving on. Speeding on Pioneer Road. I don't know, Pam, do you want to just?
Yep.
Perfect, since you reached out.
Okay, so a few things. I reached out to, you guys asked me to reach out to the sheriff's department regarding the speeding on Pioneer Road and actually the Island Drive. So she got back to me, told me that they are gonna get a trailer out here, and just today, it was delivered. And we were the first ones through it, speeding at a rate of 30 miles an hour. The cool thing about that was that the Washington County Public Works guy that was doing it couldn't believe that it was.
This guy might be speeding.
Yeah. Here comes
Yeah.
the rocket, yeah.
So anyway, he said that he couldn't believe that the actual speed limit on that road is 30. He said most towns with roads that size are, with roads that size,
Car following them too? Yeah.
are 25. So we could, I don't know if you guys want to consider possibly changing that speed limit to 25. Yeah, he said that most towns nowadays, that type of road, that's
We talking
the high
Island
speed.
Drive or?
We're talking Pioneer.
Yeah. Pioneer.
Pioneer Road only, yeah, where the actual speed trailer is. We're
That's
gonna
30
get-
miles an hour right now?
Yes.
Yeah, that's way too high.
Phil and I drove through just to test the machine.
Yeah.
And we came up over, from the gravel area, up over this little hill by the cemetery. And I said, okay, get your speed up. And he's like going 27. And I'm like, dang, slow down. And we weren't even at 30. And I was like, this is fast for this little road. Anyway, so we'll get a report. We get the machine for sure for 7 days. If they find need elsewhere, it's going away. If they don't, they will keep it. So he said the best thing that can happen now is to let the sheriff know, and I did, and hope somebody gets a ticket, because he said tickets on social media really kind of spread. And
Yeah.
that's really the only way we're gonna get it out there that, you know, we're serious. So that's all I got.
Did you notice the 2 porta potties down there on Pioneer?
Yes. I am in contact with On-Site. It's been fun.
We don't have a marathon or a bike ride or anything coming through the area?
No, and neither does Washington County. So, yes, I've been down there twice getting information off of the On-Site toilets just for On-Site to be able to figure out how to go pick them up, because they don't have an address, so. It's like, I don't care if you
They
don't
put
have an
'em-
address, just pick them up.
they put
Does
'em
Mike
there
need
and
one
they-
for his shop?
Wow.
So anyway, we're aware of the,
No, he's
On-Site
got a
toilets.
bathroom in his shop.
Do we want to have the discussion with speed right now? I mean, I think even 20 miles an hour would be expecting people to probably do 25 if it's a 20.
Well,
30 is way too
St.
fast.
Paul and Minneapolis have kind of adopted a 25 through all their streets unless otherwise posted, so 25 is kind of a norm
Standard.
now. I wouldn't mind putting 2 signs up there, one at each end of Pioneer 25. That does kind of get your attention a little bit. Most people think 30, you see the 25, well, maybe I should behave. Can't hurt anything, can help a little bit.
Any other residents on that street?
I'd shoot for the 20. But
Everyone's doing 5 over anyway, so
pretty narrow road.
Yeah, well,
They're gonna do 5 over, you're gonna do 25.
I think if we're posting it, it doesn't really matter. We could make that a 20.
well, 20 people might,
He didn't recommend a 20,
Okay.
because we said that, and he said,
yeah, 20 is kind
I
of,
wouldn't recommend a 20.
25.
Before you set the speed, I would urge you
See what?
to do one test.
Yeah.
Which is both of you drive on the road in opposite directions at 20.
You met my neighbor. I don't know if I trust him to do that. I'll do it with you.
20. Seriously, it'll give you sort of a sense of, wow. One thing is to actually go on your own. The other thing is to cross someone, and just stick at 20 and make sure that you're safe and so on. Not to damn you, but it's not a safe road.
It's not a very. I mean, it's not like a 2-lane road.
It doesn't have a lot of holes. So, yeah, if you could consider the lowest speed limit possible, because it's just one way is one thing, but if you're meeting somebody coming the other way, you'll see how it feels.
Were they gonna respond to us with the feedback like next month?
No, sooner than that. Hopefully, well, it may be after the 7-day period.
Yeah. I mean, it's been like this
But
for
it won't
years.
be
Maybe
another
our,
month.
maybe we just take in the information that we get back from them, and then next month we can have a discussion about speed limit, and then we can
I don't know.
bomb at each other a few times.
people that live there want it at 20. I mean, I don't want Geneva at 20, but I mean, you guys live there, you want 20? You want 20?
2 signs. I'm good with it.
Yeah, we'll go with 20. Let's just have our road boss,
I would do 25.
would you?
Yes, that's Wisconsin. They do that.
That's any community.
Huh?
Any community, he said, is going 25.
I mean, the
It's
dirt
up to
part,
us.
the dirt part is pretty wide, but when you get down at 19 feet wide, it's not a, yeah.
Well, it's gonna be fixed too. I mean, we're getting a new road, so.
Let's just get the speed information. You can drive it a little bit, whatever, and
Wanna
next
wait
month
till
we
next
decide,
month?
yeah, let's just, next
Okay,
month
we
we'll
can-
put that on and we'll make a decision next
Yeah,
month.
okay, we can do that. All right.
So that's
Okay, so
kinda,
the sheriff's response,
Yeah.
pretty much the same thing.
yeah.
She said she'd get one, a trailer, and she got one.
In St. Paul, their residential speeds are 20.
Okay.
25, ain't they? Isn't that the,
20, on most residentials are like 20.
I thought they passed an ordinance in both cities, St. Paul, Minneapolis, all of them are 25 unless posted.
25 in like city limits, but residential roads where there's pedestrians, it's 20.
I haven't seen that. I'll have to look next time I'm up in St. Paul.
When will that be?
Next time wife wants to eat, probably.
And what's lower gonna hurt? Nothing, everyone's
No.
speeding.
Yep.
They're not gonna go 20, so who cares, put it at 20 and they'll go 30, you know?
I just take it off of residents at mine.
Yeah, let's just, I'm good with,
Yeah.
should we just do 20 and be done with it? 2
Yeah, let's
signs?
just do
We
20
got
and be
two-
done
two
with it.
against one.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
who's doing the motion, who's doing the seconding?
I'll make a motion, we put 2 signs up on Pioneer Road, 20 miles an hour.
And I'll second that.
Okay?
Yeah.
Do we need to, location? Like how
Well, I would
far
say
in?
at each end, one where it meets up with
Well,
Great Cloud Trail and one where it meets up with 75.
replace the existing
Do you wanna
ones.
come in, oh, there, yeah. I just wonder if we get closer to the, by the cemetery,
You know,
a
I
little
put-
closer to the woods, cause it's so wide and then it narrows? Or
Oh,
do
we
keep
keep
it?
yeah, we could do, well, it's interesting, 20 on the dirt road too. There's a lot of people
Yeah.
working on that dirt road.
Alright. Do we have to
Did you guys
do,
vote?
Yeah.
all in
Well,
favor?
You just made a
It's still
motion.
in.
All in favor?
Just 2
Yeah.
against 2?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No,
Okay.
it should be 25.
So are you saying Pioneer is, goes around the curve and then goes to the grab, to the class 5? Where are you saying the start and the end of the 20?
The gravel from Island.
Both ends of
Drive
it.
Yeah.
All the way on
Just the
both ends.
gravel only though?
No,
No,
the entire thing.
The whole thing. The whole thing, all the way
Oh,
from,
there are also, okay.
yeah,
So
the
just
whole-
inside of the Y, we'd probably post it right there and then, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Are we replacing existing or are we adding?
Is there any signs there?
Yes, there's two. One right after, well, not right after, about a block from the gravel to the asphalt, about a block down.
Right by
which
right by
was
go
blocked
down.
by limbs, but our road boss cut them down tonight. And then one, as you go around the corner, there's another one.
So what are they?
Pardon me?
What are they?
Speed limit signs,
No, what do they say?
30. They're 30 year.
So what, one's by Gunala's, is that what you're saying? By the cemetery entrance?
No, as you cross from the gravel to the asphalt, going
Heading east.
coming from 75.
Yeah.
About a block in, on the right, of
Oh.
course. I don't know whose address. Right by Loretta Snone's place.
Oh, right by your front yard. So we probably want,
Across from,
we want one farther west than that.
okay, so we're moving them?
Well, we need one farther west, otherwise you're gonna go 30 up to that sign in his front yard.
Why don't you put one at the start of the dirt, another one, just replace the signpost, say, just confirm it's 20, you know?
3 of them?
Yeah.
Add one closer to the road here. Yep.
And replace the other two.
There is one?
Turn left right here, about 50 feet in to the right or something.
There's one. Okay, so that one would just get changed.
So we have 3 signs.
Right in front of the body.
Okay. I don't live there. I'm not familiar with it. I don't speed down your road. I'm gonna start, I'm gonna do 25 tonight and pass some cars.
Coming from the east.
You can't go 30 once you get
Yeah.
in there.
Only have one in front of, as you get through your house to the right. There's that no parking, and then there's a speed limit. And then there's one in front of your house heading west, east.
So, just replacing those signs 20 miles an hour. And then while we're speaking of signs, I would like to add a no parking sign right after the guardrail at the corner, but,
I'll
yeah.
have to get a hold of.
I think we should just add a sign right there. 'cause
I'm against that. I'm totally against that, because you put a sign. And
But they're parking there right now.
We went through this before.
Yeah.
If you put a no parking sign, once you get past no parking signs, you figure it's
But
parking.
there's another one just beyond that.
Yeah.
None of them
He
should
parks
be
right in
there.
front of it.
Well, I will make a motion to add a parking sign there. Paul, you can be the deciding
Does it say
factor.
like next 2 miles or
I'll
something?
second
It already
that.
said it's posted in the township, but everybody parks right there, right at that guardrail.
All you gotta do is
If you're not from here.
call the police, have them come down and give them a ticket.
I took the picture, the same picture you did. I took a picture of that same
This
car.
ain't calling
He was
911.
there at
Did you
noon
make a, did you make?
I made a motion to add a sign. I don't know if you want to hear any comment from residents on that.
I'll second it.
Or Paul will second it.
I'm
There you
sure
go.
those people that are fishing up there know they can just go down the road and fish legally. So our goal would just to route them to a different area.
And they might not know, I've never seen anyone there in all my years.
It's the same people.
There
in
was-
America Day now. Yeah, so somebody.
There was
stops and
one
tells
there
them.
this morning.
Cause anybody's put a post-it note on there, this is no.
Actually, that silver car, like last week, I stopped and talked to them and I just said, hey, you're not supposed to, just so you guys know, you're not supposed to park there, but they didn't seem to care because they've been there the last 2 nights too, but I don't know, I don't call the police for a guy parking there, but at the same time, if it's the ordinance, it is what it
I'm
is.
sitting in my backyard, they're speeding over the current, so I think they do have to project their voice, but
Yeah.
the sound carries right in my backyard.
I mean, those people were legitimately fishing, but last year we had people that we had no idea. There was no people to be found. Their cars were parked there, and you're just like, what are you up to? You have no idea. So it's kind of, so I made a motion, Paul seconded it.
Right, I just, one question from
Yep.
me, this is County Road 75, so it's not our
Oof.
road. Do we have to ask them? I mean, how does this, do you guys know? I mean, do I call the Public Works and say, can you put a sign up, or?
Yeah, maybe we should.
Well, they
just
would if you
do it
called
that
me.
way.
I think if you call.
Okay, I'll do that.
I still want, I just don't think that's gonna solve the problem,
It's
because,
not gonna solve the problem.
no, the only thing, there's only one thing that's gonna solve the problem. We got the 3 signs coming into the township. We spent the money on the signs that are up there. If somebody's parked there, just call the police, tell them there's somebody parked there illegally, tell them to come down, give them a ticket or talk to them. After it's the same people all the time. Cops talk to them one time, give them 1 ticket, problem to be solved.
Not typically,
Well-
not from my experience with issues, and they don't get tickets.
And the cops are nice, and they
Yeah,
just warning
they-
after all, hey
yeah.
guys.
So did the same people come back then after the cops talked to them?
Well, they did last year. It was no different because we had an ordinance and they didn't enforce it. So
We
then
didn't have the
added
signs up.
Well, yeah, but it's still a law.
Well, yeah, but they don't know it. We got the signs up. That's kind of, what do we spend the money on the other 3 signs for then?
And that sign that's at the lower, when you meet into Cottage Grove, come up the hill, it says no parking on the right of way. People don't even know that.
Yeah.
It's, you know, and it's right on the curvy road where nobody would park up the hill going up the,
No parking on right away.
should have said no parking in any ditch on the road.
Yeah.
We have a motion and a second, so I think we email the county and just see if they follow through with that, unless you guys feel otherwise.
Did you guys vote?
That's what I was
No,
gonna.
did you vote?
Is there any other discussion you wanna have before we vote?
No, thank you.
All in favor? Aye.
Against.
All right, as you guys know, Holcim had reached out, for setting up meeting. Our response to that was that we would have a public meeting, no private meetings. We did, SHC, the people that help us our planning and stuff, we have reached out to them. They are willing to work with us with whatever we need. So we've kind of done our due diligence, and we would just be waiting on Holcim if they want to reach out or do any of that. As board members, our attorney has stated, and then we've, you know, we're at the point that there's not going to be any one-on-one meetings or any of that. Anything that happens with Holcim would be a public, it might be a workshop type meeting where it's closed to public comment, but public would be allowed to be there to hear what's going on. So if they reach out to us, we've done what we asked, or what we were asked to have prepared for that. I don't think there's anything else with that. Anything else?
No.
Can I talk?
Yeah, absolutely, it's your item.
Okay. So, you know, our take is that every time when we've come up for our administrative permit.
Mike, so we,
So every time, I don't even know how this works. It never works for me.
You want me to help or not?
Sure. I mean, it's a small room. I can talk loud. I had 4 kids that I yelled at.
Well, you wanted to.
I don't know, this, is this actually working? Can you guys?
It doesn't sound like it is. Okay, so, you know, for the last several years, when we've come for our annual permit, we seem to always be in. So our reasoning for providing an escrow to you folks and having your consultant, be it SHC or whoever, and it sounds like now SHC is willing to work with you guys, and our consultant and experts, the 2 expert teams, is that they could talk amongst themselves. No decisions are going to be made at these meetings. They're not going to be any votes as to what should happen, but they can be they're a guiding process. Then they can report back to you folks when the public meetings come up with the planning commission and with the town board meeting when our permit is up for renewal, which is obviously not for a while. We want to be well prepared in advance, both sides be well prepared, so that 60-day Minnesota rule process can get to just 60 days instead of being extended to 90 days and 120 days, as it has sometimes in the past.
I guess question on the record would be, does Holcim have, I mean, do you guys have our township ordinances?
We have the township ordinances, yes, we do.
So on
But
our
it's-
behalf as a township, when we get a permit in, if a resident applies for this, say he just did a pole barn, if he came in with a pole barn and applied with it being right on a property line against our ordinances, it's gonna get kicked back, it's gonna get rejected, it's gonna eat the clock. If he were to come in knowing the ordinances, give us a plan to the spec, to our ordinances, it's stamped, approved, it's sent out that night, it never get rejected. So from our planning commission and our behalf, we use SHC, we understand our ordinances. We have yet to get a permit since we've started the process that has been inside of our ordinances. So we don't have the ability to approve it like that. So you guys have the understanding as a giant company with the resources to give us a permit that falls inside of our ordinances, then we would have it stamped out that night. It would never even pass a 30-day.
So my take on that, Dan, is our permits have always been complete. They have always been complete. We have asked, and we will continue to ask for the hours, because the hours that you folks have in your ordinance right now are so restrictive for us to operate, being the seasonal operation that we are.
So
And I
you
think
guys-
SHC has been in agreement with that in the past as well. We're just trying to avoid that, even when our packages have been complete to you folks, and they've been moved on to the planning commission, and then to you folks, we still seem to exceed that 60-day Minnesota rule. You asked for, it's extended. I'll add to that, we will have a reclamation plan here very shortly for you folks to review, in addition to the county to review. And it's not just your ordinance, but it's the county's ordinances that we are looking at, their regulations, and the shoreland ordinances that we have to. We just are looking to streamline things, and by retaining and giving you folks an escrow, it's not going to cost you anything. By giving you an escrow ahead of the game and getting these experts on board earlier, rather than waiting till our application is submitted, we just feel we can streamline that process and stick to within that 60-day Minnesota rule guideline.
And I'll just let you, I mean, we have yet, is there a time that Holcim has been denied hours of operation since?
No, but it is always an issue for us when we come and talk to you. It's just a yes or no answer. It's the answers that our ordinances are ordinances, and in good faith, there's not one board member here or one in the past that has denied you the operation hours that you've chose to do, even against some of our public saying, hey, why are you still doing this for this company that's beating us? So in good faith, well, you're bringing up a permit issue. So hours of operation have nothing to do with it. It's not going to get changed. Our ordinances are ordinances. There will be no permit that will ever be approved with different hours than that. We've always worked in good faith. We've always given you that outside of it. So that's it. As far as 60 days go, again, we've never had a turnkey permit signed. Our residents that have nothing to do with construction give us better permits than what we get from a company that has every resource there is. There's a certain process that goes on, which you guys are well aware of. If you want something outside of our ordinance, it has to go through a variance. It has to go through a whole different thing. So if we get a permit that all the ducks are in a row to our ordinance, everything falls inside of the boundaries, it's stamped out that night, it's done. If you guys have other things that are outside of our ordinance that's clearly written, you can bring anything to a planning commission, apply for the variance, and then it comes through the process to deal with any separate issue. So Gray Cloud Township has never held you guys up on any permit, on anything on our issue. We can't approve just because you feel we've held you up. There's never been a legality thing that we've held you up on, because we're turning over to the ordinance, matching the ordinance, and we've been clear with that for 4 years. And on top of that, since I've taken over the township in my 4 years, I've asked your guy that sits here every time to give us a long-term outlook of when the last piece of rock is coming out, have aggregate show us an entire project so that every single person that sits in this room in our residence, they understand what the end game is, so that people know. Because right now they go, well, is that house getting bought up, that torn down? They're asking for 100 feet here. Well, is that the end? Maybe we'd give them 100 feet, but is that the end? Then there's another 500 feet. So you guys leave the township in the dark. So when you just give us a plan with no other information and expect something back, and it's outside of the ordinances, it's actually appalling to sit on this board and hear you say that we're slowing up your guys' process when we've done everything in good faith. We've constantly listened, we've constantly turned over, and you guys have yet to bring us a plan that meets our ordinance. Can I ask you what have we missed in your plan that we've provided to you? And I question why you're so objectionable to taking an escrow amount from us.
We're not. We did everything. We would receive an escrow. We have SHC that will work with us. Whatever you guys want to give us for a escrow, we would take that immediately. That's totally side of the reasoning you're trying to
But why wouldn't you want the two, your SHC and whoever we have to talk outside of a public venue? When they're the experts that can guide you.
And we are appointed by our township to serve and make the best decisions with our stuff. So our planners are there to work in tandem with us, with our understandings, with our feelings, with our input on how we go, and they're there to help guide the boundaries. And
I understand.
To date, we've never gone outside of illegal stuff. We've never done any of that. We have solid people that sit next to us, and they help get us through the bugs. They answer the questions we need answered, and it's a very good system that's worked really good. So as far as an escrow goes, we could get a check tomorrow. We could have them on retain. Otherwise, it's just been, we just put the fee on your guys' permit, and you guys have been covering it. We've never struggled financially to retain those people. So.
And I hope you're not thinking that I'm in any way suggesting that you have not acted in good faith or, you know, have done something contrary to laws. So,
I just think, you know, for the record, I think Holcim should send us something saying that we haven't held you up, because I've heard Tom call me and tell me that, and I've heard you tell me that, and both you, it's hard decisions, hard discussion that has to take place, nothing personal, but to be told that we're not operating under a smooth transition is just a flat out lie. And that's a disgrace to our residents, it's a disgrace to the board to sit up here when we do this stuff for you guys. It's not, I mean, I get to the point, how much longer till I say, when you call, can this company run trucks outside of the ordinance? How much longer? I have the right to just say no. I have the right to say, it's $5,000 tonight to run a truck. How many times do you just keep telling us that we're doing a bad job before we start just staying to the ordinance and not work in good faith?
well, I'll have to say I did not use any such language that you're doing a bad job.
Well,
I just want the record, that to be on the record.
You just got up here and you said that we've held up your permit process,
We
and that's
have
a lie.
gone beyond the 60-day period many times, Dan, you cannot deny that.
So,
That's all I said. I did not
Out
say.
of question, to keep it short, out of question, have you guys applied with a permit that has met our ordinances, fully to our ordinances, that hasn't had to be corrected? Have you guys applied with a permit?
Our last permit application, I believe, did, yes.
No.
What was out of ordinary?
I think hours of operation.
So hours of operation.
I had this same conversation, Dan's talking about with Tom, and he said, oh, we held you up. I said, no, we didn't. I said, you held yourself up. Every time you come in here, I told him, I said, I could have your annual permit done in 15 minutes. I'll just make it match the ordinances, boom, period, paragraph, done. Every time you guys come in here, well, we want to change these hours. Well, you let us do this last year, so let us do it again. Well, let me finish. Okay, you know, the only thing that got a little convoluted last year, and it had a right to be when the planning commission brought up mining too close to County Road 75, where you'd already taken down one
Yes.
bank, and then you're gonna do the next bank. Well, planning commission was absolutely right. Does that require a variance or not? Because you're mining outside the ordinance. So that got held up a little bit, but on purpose. If you're worried about your permit, put in your application next month, and you just waive the 60 days, and that gives us from next month until next March 1st. You don't have to wait until you only got 60 days.
Understood. Well, the 60 days is from when you received the application. It's not from when it's due.
And you can, so you can bring it in.
Yep, I understand.
You can bring it in July and we'll work on it.
I understand.
But every time it's, then the attorney goes through the meeting minutes and she says, well, you guys said this, you said this, we got timestamps, so you gave us permission to do this and that. So we ain't real fond of meeting with the people that do that. I mean, when the current ordinances were written, the mining company at the time was fine with them. And the reason they were fine with them is because the mining ordinance got gutted out. 80% of what was in Great Cloud's mining ordinance got gutted out. You people were part of that. So you ended up with what you had, what we had. When that ordinance was adopted, there was nothing in the minutes that showed whoever it was at the time, whatever company owned your place, had any objection to them because they got 90% of what they wanted. So we could have I'm sure if you brought your ordinance in, nothing on the other side of the road, nothing in the neighbor's property, nothing outside this, nothing outside the hours of operation, nothing about the trucking, just plain follow the ordinance right to the T. It would probably go to the planning commission. They'd probably be done with it in one night for sure. It'd come to us, we'd be done with it. Your permit could be done in 1 week if there was no additional baggage added to it.
Understood.
Every permit you guys have come with since I've been on here has additional baggage on it, every one. None of them followed our zoning ordinance to the T. And I'll tell you what, after standing down there with them trucks down there that day on the bridge thing, I'm surprised them residents up there aren't screaming bloody murder. I had no idea how loud them trucks were. I was sitting down in Russ Repke's driveway, and I think the only reason they don't complain is they're used to it.
Oh.
I mean, listening to them, it makes it hard when you guys call and say, we want to run on Saturday. You know, if I lived there, I'd say, why are you letting them run on Saturday? I mean, they're noisier than heck, and they're not doing anything wrong. They're not using Jake brakes. They're not speeding, anything else. It just takes a lot of horsepower to pull 80,000 pounds up that hill. Both directions. So, I mean, don't sit and come to us and say, we hold you up. You've never given us a clean application since I've been on the board. Not once.
I appreciate your input.
So here, yeah, here's where we're at then. So we do have SHC that will work with us. So we've done what you guys have asked. We will guarantee you that you guys set up for a meeting, whether it's a workshop, whatever we have to do, we will meet special. We will do whatever we have to do to create so we can move things along. If you guys want to meet, we'll do what we have to do to create a public meeting. We just need the time to post it and do it legally, but we will meet outside of once a month meetings if we had to do that. Whatever you guys ask of us, we will be at the table.
So if it is a workshop, it is a public meeting, it's a workshop, and the public listens, same as, well, in Cottage Grove when they have their workshops.
Yep, so we would sit, we'd have SHC here, we would be there, and we could discuss, do whatever, and public could sit back and just be able to listen into conversation.
Okay,
And we would
understood.
have the legal-
Let me add a little caveat to that, so when your attorney looks at this meeting, she says, well, at the meeting, you guys said the public can't say anything. The public will or will not say anything deemed by the board at these meetings. Because I know how that works. Oh yeah, and this night at 8 o'clock, Dan Woman said the public will have no voice in it. The public may have voice in it.
Yeah, you
Because
know,
I've had that
I
stuff where I
think,
didn't like it before by your attorney.
oh, yeah, I think that rule would need to be clarified, what the state rule is.
And then I have a problem
don't claim to
wondering,
know all of them.
why do we need any consultants, anybody? You bring us a clean permit, matches our zoning ordinance, there should be no reason for a bunch of planners and attorneys to meet to try and do whatever.
Well, I'll say
We
that.
look at this as, this doesn't look straightforward and honest to us.
I'll say, Dick, to that point, I've never known a municipality that has not, if they don't have a professional planner on staff, has not retained a professional planner to guide them with, even if the application is meets every single standard of their ordinance. And I point out Empire Township, which is now a city.
Well,
We've
actually,
submitted many, many
Patty,
applications.
you guys have received a permit from SHC Drawn since 21, 22, 23, we've had professional planning. So we just
No, I
because we don't
understand,
have
but
a
he's-
retained fee, we have them on call and we pay as we go.
No,
so.
no, that's what I mean, when you retain. But to Dick's point, when he's asking if you submitted an application that had met every ordinance requirement, well, we do that in many municipalities. They meet every single requirement. Their hours are longer, so we don't have to ask for, please give us extended hours. But they always have their staff review it.
Yeah, and
So-
if we deem
and you do
necessary,
too.
we need expert
Yep,
opinion, we
I
would.
understand.
We are just being clear, and we've already, for 3 years, we don't need our planning, or SHC to come tell us again that you can turn this down again, you can match. We already know the legality of it, so we can keep doing how we've been doing. But
No, I
every
understand.
permit we get, we're gonna, no matter what, we would just send to them. And if it's all to the ordinance, it would be a quick right back response, planning commission, right through. Ducks in a row, nice and easy.
Again, I
There's-
appreciate your input.
They're there.
So you're bringing your annual permit for 2025 in August then?
I can't answer that right now. I'm not even in my office.
Well, then you're holding us up.
For the record, Gray Cloud has SHC on call to do any services we need required at the time we feel fit. So we are fully staffed in that department.
Well enough.
So to
Thank you.
satisfy your attorney from going back through this meeting, we have not committed to anything with you people.
Understood.
enough?
Understood.
All right, any last?
Yeah.
All right, cemetery looks good.
I got something. I got something. When they ask for extended hours, usually it's maybe 1 or 2 times a year, we give them to them.
Yeah, we've never turned down, they've never had an
Yeah.
answer for anything.
So,
And we do appreciate that. We know our business is, out of the ordinary for your, well, I mean, we've been here forever, but we're not like, operating a home auto repair and things like
Yep.
that, so. we
All right.
appreciate it.
And just for the public's information, we did amend our zoning ordinance to make it easier for them to get extended hours and trucking and stuff like that.
If you got it, you wanna come up to the mic, just so we have it on the record?
you might have to raise it up a little bit.
I don't know if I touch it.
Yeah.
It doesn't screw very well.
I'd just like for any meetings or workshops or whatever they call them, I'd like them to be open to the public and for us. I mean, we're all invested, and I'd like to be able to speak at them. I mean, we're as invested in our side as Holcim is on their side, and they're gonna be saying whatever they wanna say, and I feel like the residents should be able to speak. And I feel like what they'd really like to do is just get our planner and their planner together, work something out, and then come put.
Just to cut it dry,
Yeah.
right? We don't need to assume they're trying to do anything or do any of that. We're making it very clear that we will have representation with SHC at all times with any meetings. We've made that clear that that's our decision to do. And then as far as public comment goes, it just depends how the meeting goes. We have no idea. Maybe they don't even ask for a workshop. We have no idea what's coming. But if they were to ask for stuff at certain points when the board would deem it appropriate, we would always, we base our decisions off public feedback. So you'll always have a voice with us involved.
And I guess I don't understand what the planner's role would be in these early discussions. Isn't the community's job, the planning commission, your guys' decision, along with our attorney, to come up with the best decision, and then we have the planners implement it?
So instead
of the planners come and giving us, basically what they did last time was they gave us legal advice.
And I'll just reiterate, we will always have representation with the planners. We feel, at least while we are elected, we feel that it's our job to be the voice for you guys that elect us. And it's their job to help us stay within legal things, help understand the things we don't, be the resource behind us to just help us with our questions to get where we feel like we're headed. So that's not, yeah, you'll always have a voice in it. You'll always have that. It's not gonna be a separate issue. And that's why we felt it's necessary to say we will have representation and not allow planners and other people to just go off on their own without the township's voice at the table.
Okay, thank you.
Any other unfinished business?
Yeah, I can report on, take a drink of water. We went to a meeting in Cottage Grove. I think I told you about that before. Cottage Grove called the meeting. It was like a workshop. It was supposed to be a breakfast workshop at Mississippi, or at the Cottage Grove Golf Course. We're all down there. Who was there, Pam? Me, you, Paul, a bunch of people from Cottage Grove, Washington County folks, all talking about the traffic to Rachel Developments thing on 103rd Street over there, and anticipated traffic we're gonna have. And I think we reported on this before, but I'll bring an update on it. What they agreed to do was test the road, Great Cloud Trail and Island Drive, do core testing on it and then give us that information back. The county was gonna do that.
No, they were gonna do
Yeah.
that.
Thumb test.
Yeah, thumb test, yep. And talked to Wayne Sandberg when they were moving the logs down, and he said they got that information back. Well, that was a week ago. I haven't heard anything from them, so that's kind of sitting on hold right now. And what's kind of interesting is when we were at that meeting, they come along and said, at the first one, they said, well, there should only be about 15,000 truckloads of stuff delivered there. And I told them, I said, I figured closer to 30. And they sent it back to Rachel. Rachel come back with 31,000 truckloads. That's one way. So there's 31,000 trucks going the other way. Okay, so you're looking at 60,000, at least 60,000 trucks. And that was the bigger stuff. That didn't include pickups and stuff like that. But I've noticed Rachel Development trucks, even their pickups, which way they going? Through St. Paul Park. They ain't going up 103rd. Okay, so anyway, we're waiting to hear back on that. If we do, we'll find out. At this point, we don't know if we have what we can do to stop them, if we can. If we're waiting to see what the weight ratings are on that road. Right now, we're in limbo. We don't know where we are. And St. Paul Park was there, and they didn't really seem to care. Their public works guy was there, and he didn't care what they did. He could care less.
And it was our interpretation when we sat there that we'd get a weight rating back, and then they would revise their schedule for vehicle heights, and then they would reach out to meet again. So we're hoping that still follows through to happen.
Yeah.
And they did get back with the
Yep.
new heights, right?
So we got the weight test done. We haven't got those results, but we did get the height thing. That's still not very accurate, but it's more accurate.
And then I did ask their city administrator, Jennifer Levitt, and she's always been real good to us, decent to work with and that. I said, you're fixing 103rd in the bottom of the hill, you're fixing 103rd on the top of the hill. Why ain't you fixing the bridge? The middle of the road. It's like you fix both ends, you ain't fixing the middle. And she said, that's about a $15 million project, and it's probably 15 to 17 years out. She said in order for us to do that, we have to build a siding for the trains to go around the existing bridge, then tear out the existing bridge and redo it, then reroute the trains back and put them on there. She said the railroad's not fun to deal with. So that's where fixing the bridge is. And then we're gonna, just so you know, we asked them, gonna go over the bridge or under the bridge? Well, they really couldn't go over because it's so darn high. They basically have to come off the top of the hill and stay at that elevation over the bridge. So they're gonna go under it. Well, they said they had to lower the roadway, she said about 4 feet under the bridge to get enough clearance. That's why if you'll see roads being done over there now on top of the hill, they're all about 4 feet lower. We're gonna lower the ones on the top of the hill and on the bottom to kind of match up with that. So anyway, that's the extent of my knowledge on that.
All right, new business. Resolution to appoint the primary election judge.
Yeah, where's Exhibit A?
Pam's pulling it up.
I'm also getting bid up. Okay, so we need just you guys to approve this resolution to approve Joan Miller, Chris Whiteman, Utech, Amy Shaw, Sandy Hastings, and Cheryl McCulley as election judges for this year.
I'll make a motion to appoint the primary election judges on Exhibit
I'll second it.
A. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Resolution providing consent to Washington County to register cannabis businesses. So this is something that probably won't really apply to our township, but it's just something that easier to do than
Wait,
fight
can
later
I-
as well.
I can't read it.
We don't, we'll never allow somebody to have a business here or do any of that, but every
We
other
won't?
township.
We won't?
Yeah. Can do
I got
whatever.
one on the trail that would love to.
Yeah.
He grows it, well, forget it.
Yeah. I'll make a motion to approve the consent
Second that.
resolution on cannabis.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Log jam at the county road. You guys all seen that got cleared? They got like 6
Yeah.
logs out and the rest all shot down.
Yeah, but
They're all piled
are
up in
they
front of
gonna,
snake camps. Yeah. Are they back there again?
There, one big one caught there and now it's just catching everything. It's
Yeah.
right in the main current, so it's catching.
I seen that one.
Dick and I went and drove his boat
Tried.
a couple times and needs chainsaw work, so.
I,
Except volunteers.
we have had some eyes on that thing. I was in Alaska and I had spent 3 hours on the phone with a guy from the Corps of Engineers to look at the thing, and Dick ran and grabbed pictures, emailed the guy pictures, and all the people who are up there looking at it, it's all the people we've told what was gonna happen, how it's gonna happen, and they just sit there and can't believe it's happening, and nobody will do anything, but the Corps basically needs somebody to say, hey, let's look at the water studies and all that stuff, and I honestly wish we could do some sort of civil lawsuit, because they provided a bridge that said 13% of the water flow would come down the channel. We all know that's not happening. It'd be nice to get accountability for the township, but I don't even know if you can, how you do that.
It's making it a lot deeper.
Shallower.
Shallower.
No. Right by the bridge.
Oh, right by the
Any
bridge,
deeper
there's one
anymore.
hole there.
That's as deep as she's gonna get, yeah. So, they're gonna come back, clean those logs out when it's safer, get rid of those off that shoreline. They're gonna leave them, so next spring they come in, yeah. Anything else quick on that, Dick, or?
No,
get
that's it,
moving along?
yeah.
LaCroix accessory building, get a motion for that, planning commission recommended we pass it, pretty straightforward.
You wanna talk about that or no?
It really is straightforward, meets all the requirements, and
Okay.
very commended for having a very professional plan submitted. We also asked these folks, because we didn't receive it within the 10-day window that we need in order to review it, and they were patient enough to wait, so we have no more questions unless anything comes to mind, or unless you've got some questions.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the LaCroix building permit.
Second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Tipcke interim use permit application.
I think that one and Shulkey,
I just have one question, I guess, for the planning commission, I guess. I was at the first meeting, and I guess I didn't, full understanding. I think these both look good. I really like the questionnaire, getting the information. as far as it goes for putting like bullet points on, or like these guys are doing this or these guys are doing that, for having strict guidelines or anything that we want to hold. Is that something you guys just don't see with this, or is that something you would expect us to look at, or how would we, what's your thoughts on that?
So we had that's a good question. So we had a little bit of a discussion on so the questionnaire is meant to give you context of what's coming. Instead of XYC LLC and you've got no impact, we did some research on what are the variables that would matter to either change in the character of the residential area or have an impact. And so you can see some questions related to the resource utilization, noise items, expected load, what kind of traffic is going to generate, and so on, to see fundamentally do we think that activity is going to really change the nature of a residential location, or do we think not? And as long as it's not, then we're recommending it. When we think it is, then we'll flag it up and you guys would have to make a decision. And we actually toyed with the concept of what kind of request would we deny? So if there's one of them that has, for example, 3 employees that come in, they actually don't stay in the location and they go out for a role. What if it's 30? What if it's 30 and they're making stuff instead of not making stuff? Tipcke's have 0 employees in their application. What if they had 10 mechanics that go into the garage and work?
Well,
Is
that would change.
I completely get it, but changes what? Is there a variable that would tip? So the point is to try to we're new at this. There's only a couple of them. I think the clerk has been trying to reach to the other 2 that have CUPs, 3. There may be others that are conducting business activity that maybe not even aware of it. So this is a test to say, what are the variables that we want to kind of play with? And if it doesn't seem out of the ordinary and it doesn't change the character and it cannot be noticed and it doesn't receive complaints, let it go for now. And then revisit at a certain time. Again, we had a discussion about term. My suggestion would be, let's make it a year in order for us to be able to see it, or at least have a review process that happens every so often. And let's see if these are the right questions in order to give you judgment about, is this going to change the residential nature of the area, or is it not? Does that make sense? I know it's not conclusive, but we don't have a threshold that says, if you've got 5 pieces of machinery, you're okay. If you got 6, no.
Yeah.
Or if you are making dolls, it's okay, but if you're fixing cars, yes. So we don't have that parameter.
That's where and that's, I guess, just where I was going, like the landscape. He's got a lot of equipment, stores it all inside, but is there something that we need to have that says you have to store it inside?
Inside.
Because there's not really an ordinance that would say that.
You know, Pam, I was talking to Pam today. You got that piece of paper you had? We're talking the same thing you're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, one was the timeline.
Yep.
Okay, well, number one, I like your questions. That's good the way that came up. I like the 1 year. Maybe later we can go to 2 years or something, depending on. But I wanted a couple things. One was the timeline, and the other was the ability to revoke their IUP if they don't behave. Okay, so I would say the only 2 things I was looking at is, okay, she was gonna add a 3rd page to this. She just didn't get around to it yet. And the 3rd page we'd put other. Okay,
right.
Other requirements, you want this IUP, you do this, you do this, you do that. And I would say, one is you follow what you submitted, your project will
conform with the variables that you've submitted.
Yeah, conform to write that down, man. Conform to the variables you submitted. And then second, the town board reserves the right to revoke the permit at any time.
Yeah,
that list of like.
If I may, sorry to interrupt. If I may, I omitted. I just skipped one important area. We would be just like any CUP. We put conditions on the IUPs, and the conditions is we can draft the language. We didn't have that drafted because we didn't know how this discussion was going to go. We'll give you. I mean, we'll work with Pam, but that's outstanding.
Third page.
That's what, like,
Conditions.
in my opinion, is something like that. While you guys are asking questions with the planning commission, like, I feel like that'd be a good thing to help guide, a good place with more minds to guide that list of do's and don'ts for each type of thing. But instead of just us getting it presented and then trying to wing something
Completely get it,
together.
and we're working through this. So there was a condition that Eric brought up, and I didn't get a chance to actually follow up, related to the actual storage of equipment, that it had to be inside. He actually made Amy, do you remember, a strong reference to the fact that the IUP process require that. I couldn't remember that, and I just didn't get a chance to look it up. So if it's okay, if you're conceptually in agreement with the direction of this, we can work with Pam to complete a condition statement and then bring it to you for approval as well.
So would we, I feel like 12/31/25, just let these go till, so then whatever we get through, do we give them that time so that all your stuff gets renewed on the same timeline? Or are we having these up at the end of the year?
How could they possibly get through all those IUPs in
1 month?
meeting?
You know, just
Well,
look-
I would just assume
just-
as long as they're good, if you got any trouble
You know-
ones, cause you could have them apply earlier, but however you guys, unless you wanna do it as they come in that month, and then just a year
Well,
from date.
I'm just looking at Tyler's here, along with what you just said here. If storage is needed for equipment, assets, materials described in storage plan and inventory explained. Equipment stored inside or on gravel near outbuilding, and he put trailer. Okay. You know, I
pretty
can
vague.
live with that, and if you don't do that, if it's up in the front yard, or there's stuff all over.
Correct.
We'd reserve the right to pull the thing.
And we had even a clarification, again, sorry for interrupting, we had a clarification of what that meant. Because their commitment was to store it inside, and they said from time to time, they may get a pallet of sod or of material that will go out the next day, but
Yeah.
it's not a storage type area. So we can put that as a condition, saying this is what you agreed to.
I'd like to approve these and not necessarily do them all at the same time, because somebody might come up tomorrow and want another one. Somebody might come in September. And I'd like them to kind of be the same, like, not picking on Tipcke's, but if we make them all, these expectations the same on all of them, like the ability to revoke them.
Yep.
That'd be on all of them, not just the two we got now.
I think that's written right in there.
I don't think it is. That'd have to be on our other, right?
I think it's right on the.
We will look it up and confirm that.
What I did today was come up with the condition sheet. I took some of the answers from the questionnaire and put them on as conditions. The hours of operation, no road weight signs, no visible vehicle storage for long periods of time for Tipcke, no visible outside storage for Schweisguth. Also, just on these two, I added, the town board reserves the right to revoke this permit at any time due to non-compliance with the agreed-upon conditions. And these are the conditions you set. Going forward, I added that sentence to the actual permit application.
Perfect.
So they'll be signing that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Going forward. And they'll know that's, unequivocal. that-
You're stating in there the conditions which they applied for, that they will follow that, right?
That would be on their conditional sheet.
Yeah, okay, sounds good. I don't have a problem with it, we don't have a lot of problem with these anyway until they're way out of line and out of whack. I'd like to get going on it so that we get a system in place, and so, actually, are you guys happy with the other that she put on there? And we can use that for both of them, make them identical.
They're a little bit different because they're different businesses.
Okay.
But they both have, hours of operation on there, they both have no roadway signage.
Yeah.
But their storage is different, one of them says vehicle storage, the other one is
I think
outside
it's a
storage.
great spot to
Okay.
start, and we can build.
Okay.
Do you have any other conditions for either one of them?
So just dates, let's lock in. Are we doing a year from
Right.
approval then, or are we doing? You
Yeah, I'd
guys,
say 12 months.
1 year.
Going by Eduardo's thing.
at least for the first one? and
Yeah,
then-
and the next year,
Okay.
in all honesty, like Tipcke's, I'd give them 5, but I mean, because we know what they do.
Yearly, we've been doing it yearly for
Yeah.
over 2 decades.
Yeah, and we skipped 3 years, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, if you guys are happy, I'll make a motion to approve both of these.
I'll
Well,
second that.
We've already approved
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve both the applications to the interim use permits, the one for Mike and Don Tipcke and the one for Tyler Schulke.
Second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hey, finally, after how many months?
So we're good, we don't have to look back anymore?
See you in a year.
Yeah. Now, what about the people who don't turn it in? Like, we have these two that came and showed up, they sit here, they do everything, they pay,
So-
and then the others who don't.
Well,
We have-
they were on a CUP.
Pam reached out with emails, and we've asked some questions, we've drove by, we can still see stuff going on, she's re-following up with them, and then it would become an ordinance thing, we would have to pay our township fees and send our code enforcement out and go that route. Hopefully we don't have to, hopefully they'll just come apply and, but yeah, we are working on the ones that we know of that have been there in the past. so.
And we're not charging a lot of money for these, are we? What's our
$150.
fee? Yeah, that's, okay, that's,
So
that's pretty
send us
minimal.
Notification come due next spring?
I'm sorry,
Like, okay, so before we go, it's just the letter in the mail, or somebody, I think a letter came in the mail, the application will come in the mail.
absolutely. I will send you something prior to that. The clerk will keep track of when and who and what time they are.
We do have a road to pay for, maybe we should do no notice and then a big late fee.
Yeah, like, kinda like an assessment.
All right, we gotta keep rolling here. Property at 9,300. For those of you guys that don't know, that's a vacant property. Dick, sounds like maybe you wanna speak on that?
Well, I had some people ask me about this. We got one property over there, nobody's living there, it's in pretty rambled down shape and,
On Great Cloud Trail.
yeah, Great Cloud Trail. And it's, you don't really see it from the road, but it, you know, typically we don't go after properties unless they get real bad. And this one's real bad, so, and it's like in a foreclosure or something, so I recommended we send our code enforcement officer over there, so we got a legal document from somebody that does this, and
Well,
then,
he won't have access to it.
well, you can, all you gotta do is look from the outside, you've got
So-
plenty of information.
I would just say, I do know that neighboring property's been trying to buy that house for like 5 years.
Yeah.
It finally got put into the bank owned and the doors posted, cause up till last year, she was actually living there.
Yeah,
I had used to buy and sell real estate that way all the time. We could send a guy out there, it's gonna go to nowhere, it's just gonna take a while to go through the process. It's a bank owned thing, and eventually it'll find its way to an auction.
yeah.
But, I mean, if we send a code out, it's not gonna go anywhere. But if you wanna waste the
Yeah,
township money, we can try to, but
Well, it's only, what, $120 to send him out there?
he'll have nowhere to send it. It just goes and it
Well, no,
never
we,
gets
we'll
opened.
send it to the owner, we have a different owner now.
The bank.
Yeah, the bank.
Taxpayer.
I've tried to buy that house. I know other people that have tried.
Yeah.
I
But
dealt, whatever, yeah.
at least we've done something. Somebody can't come along and say, hey, you've got a rambled down house, nobody living there, the building's falling down, and what'd you do? Yeah, we just stood back and watched it fall down.
Could we send them a letter from the township first, and then if we don't hear back next month, send the code officer?
Sure,
out?
I'm fine with that, yeah.
Yeah, you can try.
Yeah, send that,
We take
send that property owner an ASCII-gram.
All right, any other new business?
Can a code enforcement officer look for Amazon packages unique on 9301 Drive? There's been a couple times where they like 93 something, 9300 mass, and it's like, yeah, we delivered it. It's like, no.
Go for a
I
walk.
It's probably over.
Wait,
That's a joke.
let me shut my mic's off. Go for a walk. All right, need a motion to adjourn. I'll make a motion to adjourn. Heck with it. All in favor? Aye.